So I'm cleaning my room and I have so much inner dialogue and thoughts just going back and forth. And as I was cleaning up and listening to music, I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, there's so much change happening in life. Because when I was younger, it's like I didn't want to be a part of the race. You know what I mean? The imaginary race of becoming this like successful artist. Like as a child, I was just overwhelmed with life itself and trying to survive a chaotic environment and just, you know, trying to disappear kind of most of the time and not take up too much space or be too loud or be too weird and all that stuff. And then you grow up and it's like, then you're kind of like, oh my God, okay, I have to be in the race. And you're like rushing and running around. And then one day you're like in college and you're in the metro and everyone's running down the stairs and everyone's running and just rushing around. Which is something I mentioned also in like Maybe I Don't Know song. Like everyone's rushing around, like everyone's worried, and you stop. Sorry, Meadow, let me put some space for you. You stop and then you realize I don't want to rush around. I don't want to feel this constant angst of anxiety and stress and pressure, social pressure. And as you're kind of like gasping for air, trying to make sense of it all, eventually you realize, why am I rushing? I need to enjoy where I'm at. Because if you don't take the time to slow down and really truly be present and appreciate what you have, it's quite difficult because then you're like rushing to get to a point, but then you get to the point and what's the point? All that rush of, and then you get there and, what now? What more? And I think if you slow down, you can stop and smell the roses and truly see the beauty of life. And it's not easy necessarily to slow down and take the time to truly enjoy the journey of it all. And I'm trying to be so grateful that it's taking me more time. But I also come to the realization that the idea of becoming like, first of all, there are so many downsides to being famous that are not appealing. And it's not necessarily like a goal to be achieved in life. And I know like external validation from a grand platform seems kind of appealing, but I'm sure like once you're in it, it's kind of overwhelming and, you know, you're like, oh my God, it's a lot of everything. But I feel my ADHD, my train of thoughts, there's so many thoughts going on. But I feel like this idea of becoming really successful at a young age is rooted in the patriarchal pedophiles that rule everything. Because when you're younger, you don't have as much pressure and responsibilities and bills to pay. You know, when you're younger, there's a lot more willingness to try, and you're not necessarily fed all the fears and restrictions from the get-go. Depending on the environment you grew in, either you want to get out of that environment or it's really encouraging you to do those things, okay? But being a successful pop star at 16 is so insane when you think about it. Or like at 12 or 14. It's so insane because you're like immersed into something that's so unnatural, and your frontal lobe is not fully developed, and therefore you're more easily influenced, and the power dynamics are inevitable. So the power dynamics are inevitable. That's why, you know, you're made to think, oh, like I'm 30, my career is over, I'm too old. You're too old for pedophiles. You know what I mean? But you're not too old for anything. You're young, if anything. You're like starting your life because you finally are fully aware and hopefully have grown so much from growing up, you hopefully you've evolved so much and have taken consciousness and awareness and accountability for your growth and the learning steps that you had to make to get where you are. And a lot of people, if you're like me, I started making music in 2019. I've had musical inclination at a young age. I was always inclined and drawn to music, surrounded by musicians, and learning that my grandfather was a musician. My dad briefly did music, but then, some life stuff happened where he was kind of like pushed down into playing football instead. And my grandfather's father was also a musician. And then if you go all the way down on my dad's side to Iceland, there was a famous musician in my family line who was a composer. And I think that's pretty sick. But because growing up, I never knew where my musical inclination came from until I was much older, like at the end of my 20s, And I thought that was really interesting. And one of my brothers, he's one of the best guitarists I've ever witnessed. He's so musically gifted that it's kind of really sad that no one gets to acknowledge or enjoy that. Because he's like in the 1% of musically, like classically trained, metal performing, skillful guitar, like so mind-blowing. Anyways, so yeah, it's really easy to get lost in this like competitive mindset or like comparing yourself. And personally, I'm so grateful that I don't feel the need to compare myself, because I realize that I am my own person, and I realize that I have my own twist on things to share with the world. And I'm grateful that, yeah, I don't, I have a lot of musical influences and like people that I grew up listening to, of course, but I'm not trying to sound like, I'm not trying to sound like someone else, I love, the best thing that was ever said to me was like, you have your own voice and just sing. Don't try to sound sexy. Don't try to sound like anyone else. Just be honest and just feel what you're saying. Just be truthful to what you're singing or doing. And I think that also kind of applies in acting, A lot of iconic actresses, Viola Davis, for example, became really successful when they were much older, socially speaking, And the guy from Star Wars, Han Solo, became more successful when he's older and all that. But yeah, like, it's so easy to be discouraged when you're kind of disconnected, if that makes sense. When you are truly present and grateful and enjoying the journey, the struggles, because I make it look easy. Okay? I might make it look easy because I've heard a lot of times, oh, you're this and you're that. And it's like, I carry it well. And I don't, and this is really funny because I've had people, wait a minute, I have to pee. Okay, what was I saying? What was I saying? It's easy to get lost in this idea of social expectations and like comparison. But if you really take the time to slow down and appreciate and show gratitude, and I carry it really well. And I think it's funny because I've had, and again, in astrology, I'm a 12th house stellium with an 8th house moon. People project a lot. And I'm also a projector, so I mirror people. I show them parts of themselves they probably really don't like, and it causes a lot of friction. And I'm really outspoken. I'm really working hard to not people please at all. Like 0% people pleasing. I just want to live authentically. I want to be myself. And I want to say, like, no, I don't like this, and not feel any guilt for it. And I'm getting really better at it. I think it's really important. People pleasing is bad. And I'm not saying like be a jackass and like be rude and all that stuff, you know? Um, but yeah, when you stop comparing yourself, it just shifts a lot of things inside of you. Because when I was younger, I would constantly compare myself to people, uh, because, you know, when you grow up in an environment that doesn't validate your looks and don't congratulate when you do something good, then you're always pointing out when you're doing something off or wrong, and you become critically you become really hard on yourself, and the pressure is high even as a child because you're trying to please everyone and trying to keep peace, and um like I can't do anything wrong, and therefore like even a hobby becomes it comes with a lot of expectations, and oh, if I'm not immediately good at this, then like ugh, you know. Eh. And I am deconstructing from that and learning to accept the messiness of it all and embracing the messiness of it all. And it's fun because it does uh speaking your truth and accepting the messiness of being human. First of all, we're all human. Well, you know, unless you want to put the tinfoil hat and talk about everything else that's going on in the world. Let's keep it surface level for now. But like, we're all human, okay? And we're dealing with so much bullshit in the world. First of all, everyone is dealing with bullshit individualistically speaking, and everyone's bullshit is valid. Everyone's pain is valid. And I sing about that in my song 24 Hours, which is not the only one. And it's like, I don't know, I'm not the only one feeling this pain. And it's true. Everyone deals with something. And I think it's weird when people try to invalidate someone else's reality just because they can't relate or understand that different perspective. It makes a disconnect between people. There's a disconnect between people. And there's so much bullshit happening in the world right now that's overwhelming, on top of living in this capitalistic hamster wheel that makes it even more stressful. So I feel like when you speak your truth, first of all, you unblock your chakra. And even here, there's less pressure on your chest, on your shoulders. You can feel it in your back. It's just crazy how much you carry with yourself. So, yeah, I guess this was my, oh, I'm cleaning my room and I'm just thinking about all this because I am, you know, in my 30s now. But I don't feel as pressured in, oh, I need to be like an overnight sensation, which also I honestly I'm excited because I can see myself performing at Le Ministère in Montreal. I can see myself performing at MTELUS and Oshaga, and I know for a fact that these things are going to happen because every single time I say that I'm going to do something or I set my mind to something, I'm an Aries moon. I will do it. I'm resilient and I'm consistent. And when I want something, I will do it. And I don't care. I don't care if it takes a while to get there because I know that once I get there, it's going to feel so much better because I'm constantly trying to learn to enjoy the journey. And it's like my goal is not, oh, getting there is going to make me happy. It's like, no, here right now, doing what I love and doing what makes me happy now is what's making me happy. And I would rather make less money and struggle than make a lot of money and be miserable. And I feel so grateful as well, because I've felt like I was in survival mode for so long, and I, for the past 3 years, kind of feel like I'm slightly breathing a little better, and with therapy and everything, it just is a really good tool. And some people are so weird, they'll be like, oh, therapy's for like dumb people, and it's just like, no, therapy is a tool that you can use to, first of all, not trauma dump and like talk about stuff that's draining to your friends. It's really like a self-reflection tool that helps you kind of, when you use it properly, because if you do take the time to sit with yourself, you know where all the bullshit in your life comes from, and you know what caused it. If you actually take the time to sit down and introspect, like, oh, I'm like this because when I was younger, X and Y and Z. But these are results of something that happened, and it's not an excuse to do something like some bad behavior, for example. And I feel we also live in like this purist society where, like, oh my God, when you were young and like not sober, you were so chaotic. Like, no shit, bitch. If you use your common sense, like, obviously, and then you became sober for an X amount of years and you're still sober, and like your behavior is drastically changed. People, it's like two truths can be, you can have two truths at the same time, but also like a lot of people don't want to take the time. They don't care because unfortunately, when your life is in unsatisfactory, you can find satisfaction in other people's misery, quote unquote, or like downfall and all these things. And it's pretty sad and it's pretty toxic that we don't live in an environment that like wants to help one another. It's like, oh yeah, you did that, blah, blah. And it obviously there's a thin line, and there are things that are not okay regardless, and whatnot, but you can try to understand. And again, there are blurred lines with any kind of topic in life. Some things are not excusable, and some things are discussable. And like, anyways, we could talk about it forever. But I was thinking about that while cleaning, and I'm really excited. I have a show on April 15, and I'm really looking forward to it. It goes to show that to be continued. This is what I was saying. I should have put deodorant on today. I feel stinky this week. I never smell from the armpits, but I had onions. I made myself a burger and I had onions. That's why. I really have to stop eating onions. I don't like stinking. I don't like smells. That's not what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, I was gonna say, I have a show on April 15, 2026 at the Benelux Artisanal Brasserie in Verdun, Montreal. Was the one from Musical Pratique that reached out and was like, do you want to be the monthly artist? Which is really cool because I met her. She was replacing someone for sound tech at Benelux open mic night. And it goes to show, open mic nights can be really great because I feel like, see, I've done busking, and busking is nerve-wracking because you're literally a disturbance, quote unquote. Like, you're literally there and no one wants you to be there. So if you connect with people during busking, it's a magical experience. I've had a lot of kids and old people especially stop, and people my age, just, walking by, but like old people were really excited. An old man was like, finally, a young kid making good music. Tell me about it. And I was just like, sir, thank you, but like, there's a lot of good musicians out there. But it was nice. My ego was struck, of course. And this old lady gave me 20 bucks and I made $100 in like 20 minutes once, which was very cool. It was very cool. Um and Yeah, I'm excited to play more shows. I love performing. My show's free, by the way. If you're in Montreal and you want to watch it, it's free. And yeah, it's cool to go from open mic to monthly artists invited and paid. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yo, I got this at Oshaga. It was crazy. I had to, I was with my childhood friend and we were like watching The Killers and looking at each other. Like, why does he look so, well, he's Mormon, I feel like that's a fact. And we were like, why does he look like a church pastor? Like, this is so weird. Uh, but the show, like the songs were so nostalgic and they were really good. But we had to walk away because we ran, really wanted to see Dochi perform. This is what I don't like about Oshaga. I feel like it's not that well organized. I feel like they could add an extra day so that artists don't play at the same time. And I get that you have like bigger headliners and like smaller headliners, but at the end of the day, I pay so much money to go see two artists and they're playing at the same time. I'm pissed. I bought a VIP ticket and I can't even see the two people that I wanted to see. That is my check note for you, Oshaga. I still love you. You're still very decently priced for a festival considering there are so many artists playing. So, not going to complain too much. And I do want to perform one day at Oshaga. I do. This year, the only artist that I really want to see is like Finn Wolfhard. Am I saying his name right? The guy from Stranger Things. I really love his music. It's giving early 2000s indie movies, and I vibe with that. Choose a letter, choose a letter. It's so good. I love that song. And yeah, that's my little cleaning my room pep talk for you. I hope that you have a beautiful day. It's really nice out. I went for a walk when it was gray, and then when I got home, the sun came out, and I was like, bitch, are we so serious right now? Anyways, wee, this is my cat's toy. Isn't it funny?